I was never the fastest, never the biggest, never the strongest. But I never let that stop me. I never lost sight of my goals.
Passion moves us forward. It's how you think. It's how we think. Courtyard by Marriott, official hotel of the NFL.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Up, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio and, of course, Sirius XM. Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you in over 250-plus markets across the United States of America. Lots of stuff to get into, but we all know what the story of the day is. And damn it, it ain't the Yankees beating the Red Sox. It ain't the Yankees tying the Red Sox for the lead in the American League East. Oh, no, it ain't that. It ain't Johnny Manziel getting in trouble. He's getting himself medicated and having adverse effects to his medication. It ain't nothing like that. It's the Western Conference Finals. It's what we've been waiting for this entire NBA season, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Houston Rockets going up against the Golden State Warriors for the right to get to the 2018 NBA Finals and beat up, in all likelihood, on the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James. And I got to tell you something right now. We're going to do something I haven't done yet. We're going to lead this show with a gentleman by the name of Chris Paul, a.k.a. CP3. Let me tell you something right now. What a performance last night. What a sensational performance. We saw him put on the kind of performance we saw James Harden put on in game one against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round. We saw him put on the kind of performance we've seen from LeBron James on too many occasions. We saw him put on a kind of performance we've seen Russell Westbrook go berserk on from time to time. I mean, Chris Paul, CP3, the president of the Players Association, the point guard extraordinaire for the Houston Rockets, the one that left $200+ million on the table for the Los Angeles Clippers. That CP3 was something special. It was something special to behold watching this man play basketball last night. James Harden, as CP3 revealed after the game, was under the weather, wasn't himself, which explains the 7 for 22 shooting. Took the same amount of shots as Chris Paul, except Chris Paul hit 13 of his shots. Hitting threes from the corner and the top of the key, banking in threes by mistake, going to the hole on the high pick and roll, circling around and pulling up for jumpers over guys a foot taller than him. I mean, CP3 was something special. And I think that at that particular moment in time, he just reminded you about how great he truly is. There's no other way around this, ladies and gentlemen. We can slice it any way we want to. But CP3 was something special. Something absolutely positively special. And guess why I'm bringing that up? Because he's going to need to come next round. He's going to need to become next round. Don't get yourself twisted with this, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think for 1 second that the Houston Rockets team that you saw up against Utah would beat the Golden State Warriors. I'm here to put Houston H-Town on notice. It ain't happening, not like that. You're going to beat the Golden State Warriors. You better play better than what we've seen. Because if you don't, it ain't going to happen. I promise you that. You ain't beating the Golden State Warriors playing like you played last night. You can't need heroics from Chris Paul and or a James Harden for that to be enough against Golden State. You got to get it from somebody else. Whether it's P.J. Tucker, whether it's Trevor Ariza, whether it's Eric Gordon, who, by the way, had a 30-point game against the Golden State Warriors during the regular season. You got to get production from somebody other than the big two, because two guys are not beating the Golden State Warriors. I promise you that. But last night, for the purposes of one night, the only thing that sickened me was Donovan Mitchell going berserk in the third quarter with 22 of his 24 points. In the fourth quarter, collides knees with James Harden and has to go out for the rest of the game. That's the only thing that sickened me about this. Boy, did he make me proud. Do y'all, am I off my rocker for thinking he was Rookie of the Year now? Is it that far-fetched now? Didn't I tell y'all about Donovan Mitchell? Didn't I tell you? I tried to tell you the brother was special. I tried to tell you. And sure enough, we saw that from him. We saw that from him last night and at least a couple of games in this series. Utah had a shot. They were only down 3 in the fourth quarter when Donovan Mitchell went down. But then after that, and you know what? I agree with Kenny Smith for TNT. They probably still would have lost to Houston the way CP3 was playing because he looked that otherworldly. But I got to tell you something. It was just special to behold. And it just reminded you of a couple of things. Number one, the greatness of CP3 as a floor general and a floor leader. You can knock him all you want to. You can talk about his playoff foibles. You can talk about how he's come up short. And listen, I don't know if anything short of a championship will ever help him get over how he and the Clippers collapsed in 2014-2015 Western Conference semifinals, Game 6. They're up 19. They're up 3-2 in the series. They're about to go to the conference finals for the first time in franchise history, and they wet the bed, get outscored like 49-9. And James Harden was on the bench when it happened. It was Dwight Howard and Corey Brewer leading the way for the Houston Rockets. So when you look at it from that perspective, that's a hard pill for CP3 to get over. That's something very, very hard for him to get past. There is no doubt about that. But there have been so many times where this miniature guard, 6 feet, thick and plays like a pit bull on fire. This dude is such a warrior. When you look at him, I'm sorry. I've often said he's your prototypical point guard. You know what would be unfair in this world, ladies and gentlemen? If CP3 was 6'4", 6'5". If CP3, the way he plays, the way he defends, the decision making, the ball handling and passing ability and everything in between, if this brother had about 4 more inches on him, could you imagine how spectacular he would be? We'd be talking about him as one of the greatest players in NBA history as opposed to one of the greatest point guards. Because he would be that lethal and it would be that much easier for him to score. But he wasn't blessed with that height. And as a result, he has to work with what God gave him. And in the end, what it comes down to is that his greatness cannot be denied. That's the CP3 I'm talking about that I saw last night. And we, as we sit here and we look at this series, particularly considering what we saw from Golden State, how Steph Curry has just been balling, how KD has been contributing, how Klay Thompson exploded for 19 in the first half, hitting 5 of his first 6 shots. How Draymond Green has been nearly a walking triple-double the whole way around. When you look at the Golden State Warriors, here they are. They are not coming. They're here. And they basically said that to you last night, particularly Draymond Green, when asked the question, do you want the Houston Rockets as bad as they appear to want you? Listen to what Draymond Green had to say in response to that.
Man, we won 2 championships in 3 years. We're not about to run off talking about how bad we want to play somebody. Like, we want to win another championship. And it don't matter who's in the way of that. If you in the way of that, then you happen to be in the way. But, we're not about to run around like, yeah, we want to play them in the conference finals for what? Like, it don't matter to us who we play. However, we got them. All right, now let's get it. We get to it now. But it makes no sense for us to run around, we want them as bad as they want us for what? Like, that honestly don't make much sense to me.
It's interesting that he said that. Because you know what else I noticed? I noticed CP3, Chris Paul, post-game interview, when he sat up there and said, we're ready for whoever we play next. Now, we all know that night the Golden State Warriors wasn't losing at the Oracle to Utah, but CP3 was very, very dismissive of the Golden State Warriors. Hell with it, we coming. And that's what I like. I'm complimenting. It's not an insult. That's how I want it. I'm so sick and tired of this damn PC world we live in. It makes me want to throw up. Makes me want to vomit. I swear I am. It gets on my nerves. Draymond Green, you know what I would have liked to have heard Draymond Green say? He didn't say anything wrong. But you know what I would have liked to have heard from Draymond Green, ladies and gentlemen? You want me to tell you what that is? I would have liked to hear Draymond sit up there and say, y'all been talking junk about us all year. GM talking about how he built this team to beat us and all of that stuff. You want us? Well, guess what? We want you too. Let's get it on. As opposed to, we just trying to win a championship. Whoever's in our way, we going to do it. Yeah, that's very matter of fact. Very pragmatic. I get it. I understand it. It's what champions do. I totally get it. But Michael Jordan was a champion too. And when somebody said something about Michael Jordan at a press conference, he looked at the media and he went like this, shrugged his shoulders, act like it meant nothing. And he said, play that quote for me again. What'd he say? Okay. And then you knew something was coming. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of stuff that I love. It's kind of stuff that I want to see. It's basketball, ladies and gentlemen. It's basketball. I want to see some spectacle. And let me put a notice out to the NBA, please, right now. Okay? Nobody's advocating violence. We don't want to see it. In all likelihood, we won't see it. But could you please refrain from giving folks technical fouls for trash talking? Could you let them play? Could you lie? I mean, sometimes I look at the NBA office with a lot of folks in there that I love dearly. And sometimes I wonder, have y'all ever played ball in your lives in the park? Ever? Ever? Did you go out to West 4th Street? Have you been out to Rutgers Park? Have you been to 135th Street in Harlem? Have you been out to Staten Island? Did you go to Southside Chicago? Have you went to the streets of L.A. and every place in between? Do you have any idea what ball is all about? Do you have any idea what incentivizes you to elevate your level of skill so you can be superior to somebody else? It ain't just the money or watching guys play on TV. It's the fact that you step out on the court and somebody's going to have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to get in your face and tell you you ain't worth a damn. And they're going to bust your you-know-what. What are you going to do about that? That's why you show up at the park. That's why you go out there to play. Because people they don't just try to play better than you. They try to take your heart every single day. They try to emasculate you. That's what they do. You got run, you're in a park. Everybody out there in the streets know what I'm saying right now. You in a park and it's next and you on the court. And if you lose that game, you got to go to the back of the line and wait until your team's up next. You ain't trying to get off the court, so you're trying to win. Because if you lose, you might have to wait 2-3 hours before you play again. Ain't nobody trying to go through that. So everybody's trying to stay on the court and win. And as a result of that, they don't just rely on their skill. They demoralize, they emasculate, they humiliate. They do all of that stuff to get inside your chest and your head and compromise everything you think you are, to strip you of your confidence. You're the NBA, you don't get in the way of that. You let them talk. As long as there ain't no fisticuffs going on, you let them talk. I don't want to see any technical fouls in this series over something like that. You're elbowing people, hitting people, all right, that's different. But if you're just talking, there is no reason to get technical fouls for talking in the sport of basketball. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Let them play. Let them play. James Harden, you're supposed to be the league MVP. I got this for you, and I got that for you, and here I come. And James Harden's like, you damn right I'm the league MVP. Let me show you why, while dancing on you. Chris Paul looking at you like you a damn fool for even thinking about trying to strip him or trying to play on this level. There's levels to this, and you ain't on it. That's what he's saying. What's wrong with that? Let them play. We have waited for this all year. All year. This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is what I live for right here, baby. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, this is something special. This is something special. This is what the Western Conference Finals is all about. I've been waiting all year for this. Having said all of that, my condolences to the Los Angeles Clippers. Life without CP3 ain't the same. Just ain't the same. Say what we want. It just ain't the same. All right? Blake Griffin's gone. CP3 is gone. Jerry West is out there trying to reformulate, rebuild. You know, good luck with that. Doc Rivers looking like he's going to survive and stay on. I mean, it's you're just wondering about some things. Just wondering about some things. So I just wanted to make sure I stated that. Wanted to make sure I pointed that out. But I got to tell you something. Clippers, the difference between the Clippers with CP3 and without CP3 are all you need to know about CP3. And you're going to need to be that, because not to say that it's definitively so, but his form, the closest thing to kryptonite that I've ever seen for CP3 Superman, is Steph Curry. And I see Steph Curry jacking up shots. He still doesn't look like himself. He's running up and down the court, but I'm watching his movement. He's getting more energy and whatever. Still doesn't seem like himself. But if Steph Curry gets to a point where that is him and he does seem like himself, I got news for you. Watch out. Because he's pulling up from 30. I've seen CP3 neutralize many people. I've never seen him neutralize Steph Curry pulling up from 30. I don't know if anybody can do that. So James Harden is going to have to be every bit that MVP that we believe him to be. And CP3 and that supporting cast is going to have to show up. Because Golden State ain't going down like that. Just ain't happening. So those are the kind of things that we need to think about. Those are the kind of things that we need to consider. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's the number to call. It's 888-729-3776. The other thing that I wanted to get into, obviously TNT's NBA crew is tremendous. We know what Barkley, Shaq, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson bring to the table. That's why they are who they are. But Shaq and Barkley got into it last night because obviously DeMar DeRozan for the Toronto Raptors got benched by Dwayne Casey, and there was a subject that came out about babying the players. Shaq doesn't believe players should be babied. Charles Barkley's of the mindset that you're a star. The coach got to get along with the star. And if that's babying it, so be it. But obviously it didn't stop there. They got into it. Listen to the altercation, the verbal altercation that took place last night on TNT.
You bench your best player.
Why was he benched?
That's not the point.
It is the point.
You don't disrespect your best player.
Listen.
If you don't have a great relationship with your best player, you're never going to win.
That's not true.
He did not.
That's not true.
He did not, well, in
That's
your
not
opinion.
true.
No, just because you say something, it's just
That's
your
not
opinion.
true.
No, it's not true.
Me and Pat Riley never saw eye to eye, and what happened to my man win. So it's not true what you're saying.
Well,
it's not true what you're saying.
No matter how much you scream you loud, that does not make you right. You're wrong in this. And
that's why you ain't win, because you was a baby. Stop babying these players.
I'm not babying no players.
He don't play. He don't play. He got to sit his ass down. Period.
He got to repair.
He ain't got to repair nothing. He got to stop babying your players. You got baby. That's why you ain't win.
He got to. I didn't have Dwayne Wade and Kobe Bryant carry me up and down the court.
So why you don't hold a
Because
I got 3 Finals MVP, Chuck.
Because you
Google me, Chuck.
Everybody
Google me, Chuck. You see that? Google me.
Very interesting bantering back and forth. But I got to tell you something. Shaq is my brother. Love him dearly. Charles Barkley had a point. Because of Shaq, not because of the point Barkley was originally trying to make. If you listen to Shaq's argument, Shaq is saying, no, you don't stop babying these guys. He said, it's not true. You don't have to sit up there and see eye to eye and pacify your best player. And he brought up his days with the Miami Heat and Pat Riley. Charles Barkley is right. Shaq was not Miami's best player. That was Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade was Miami's best player, not Shaquille O'Neal. Now, if Shaq had said me and Phil Jackson never saw eye to eye, then he would have been right, because he was the most dominant force we had ever seen this side of Wilt Chamberlain when he was playing. And as a result, if Phil didn't get along with Shaq, then Shaq's point would have been profound. But when Shaq didn't get along or see eye to eye with Pat Riley, not only did Pat Riley have Dwayne Wade, Pat Riley had a guy in Alonzo Mourning that the Dallas Mavericks didn't want to see on the floor more than Shaq. That's a fact. Now, Shaq got his. He's going to get his numbers, and Shaq could do damage. But the flip side to it is that Alonzo Mourning was such a defensive force. That year they won a title, I believe in 2006, that the Dallas Mavericks did not want to see they did not want to see Alonzo Mourning. And we all know what Dwayne Wade did. We all know what Dwayne Wade did in that series against the Dallas Mavericks. We don't even need to start that. So that's where Shaq's point becomes diluted. He made a good point in terms of not babying players. Nobody can argue with that, with what Shaq was pointing out. But, as Barkley said, you weren't the best player on Miami. So whether you saw eye to eye with Pat Riley or not wasn't that important on that squad. Barkley's right about that, Shaq. That part Barkley is right about. 888-729-3776 is the number to call up. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. It's just something I want Shaq to think about. I thought Shaq's point would have been right on the money had he mentioned himself with the Lakers. But he didn't mention that. He said Miami.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
To confess to you, I just want to thank 1-800-Flowers for supporting the show and supporting ESPN Radio the way that it does. Obviously, as Mother's Day approaches, doing those reads and what have you brings back a lot of memories. Everybody knows I lost my mom last June. But I felt the need to interrupt and just add a personal note to it, because as hard as it is, it doesn't mean that I'm not incredibly thankful for the 50 years on this earth that I had with her. And it doesn't mean that I want or don't desire for folks out there to love their moms and enjoy them as much as I enjoyed mine. So when you hear about 1-800-Flowers and they constantly remind you about Mother's Day, I hope you take that as a personal reminder to go and to hug your mother and give her a beautiful kiss and to remind her every day about how much you love and you cherish her while she is here. Trust me when I tell you, it'll make you feel a lot better, and it will make her feel a lot better. One of the other reasons I pause before going to the calls about this particular subject is because Wanda Pratt, the mother of Kevin Durant, absolutely wonderful lady, and I've always known that. She's always been incredibly kind to me. If y'all remember, she had a ball with me last year during the NBA Finals because her son was about to win his first championship, and she was getting on me for getting on her boy for going to Golden State. The day that my mother passed away, she appeared on First Take when I was not there. Had incredibly kind words to say to me. And then when I came back after my mom's funeral, I was in the locker room in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Quickest Loans Arena, right outside the door where media was, where ESPN was hubbed that particular day. Who was standing outside waiting for me? It was Wanda Pratt, just to give me a hug and to tell me that she loved me, and on behalf of her and the NBA moms, they were all here for me. One of the first calls I got was from Shaquille O'Neal's mom and Ray Allen's mother. And the list goes on, and my love for them knows no limits. And I deeply appreciate all the support that they have always given me. And so reading that read with 1-800-Flowers and being reminded of what she meant to and what she means to Kevin Durant, she just epitomizes what most mothers are to all of us out here. So I just wanted to take a moment to sit up there and say that about her. What a wonderful, lovely, lovely lady. It's going to be good seeing her again when I go to the Western Conference Finals to watch her son go up against the Houston Rockets. I'm sure she'll be there. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. LJ in Houston, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, man?
Good afternoon, Stephen A.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry, my voice. I'm sorry my voice a little bit raspy, but I was yelling and screaming at the game last night, so forgive me, bro.
You were there, huh? You were there.
Yes, I was. It was electrifying, Stephen A. It was awesome. But Chris Paul played magnificent last night, man. He hit every big shot in the fourth quarter, 20 points, 8 of 10.
13 straight. 13 straight. Don't forget that.
13 straight. But the most impressive stat, Stephen A., he had 0 turnovers for the whole game. And if you remember, last week I called him out and said he had to play better to be that second complement to James Harden to take that pressure off. So my question to you is, do you think that the home court advantage and the strength of our bench, considering we could probably go 11 deep, does that give us an upper hand to try to take down Golden State in these Western Conference finals?
I think that's the only chance you have. I think if you didn't have home court advantage, you wouldn't win this. Nobody would be thinking you could win this series. I think the fact that you have home court advantage is what positions you to have a shot in this series. And I think that CP3 playing the way that he played last night, that's another component that you need to working to your advantage in order to win this series. Golden State is a juggernaut, man. And you're not going to beat them playing individual isolation basketball and getting heroics from one person. It's going to take more to beat this bunch. It's going to take more.
Totally agree. Golden State has 3 players that can give you 25 plus on any given night.
And how about this? They got 3 players that could give you 25 points in any given quarter.
Yeah. Especially in the third quarter when they went up on New Orleans last night, 30 points in the third quarter. So, they can get up real nice for you. But I feel that Eric Gordon has to be that third scorer for us, considering he's only shooting 31%.
You don't have to be choosy.
Averaging 12 points.
You don't have to be choosy. It could be him. It could be Trevor Ariza. It could be, it could be anybody. The big two in Harden and CP3 have to come up. Capella is going to be a pivotal factor in here. He's got to run and move and be effective around the basket to keep Draymond Green's attention. He's going to have to do that. Okay. So you're going to need all of that. Plus, you're going to need one of those guys to step up, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Ariza, whether it's a Gerald Green. Somebody needs to show up and produce for you.
Transition defense, Stephen A. You got to get back because we play similar styles. Exactly, and you can't let their defense get set up. If you let the defense get set up, it's hard to score. So transition defense is going to be the key. But I'm looking forward to it. I feel this is going to be the best Western Conference Finals since 2002 with the Lakers in Sacramento. And that's 7.
We're about to find out. LJ, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Dylan in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., appreciate the call, my brother. Thank you very much.
No problem. Over here. No problem.
All right. Just to my point from yesterday with Shaq and Charles talking, I know Donovan went out with like 3.5, 4 minutes remaining, maybe them down.
No, it was longer than that. It was longer than that. I think it was closer to 7 minutes.
Was there still a chance with Donovan on the court? That Charles and Shaq saying there was no chance, game over, even down by that many. I still think with Donovan on the floor and what he proved this year, the kid could have played. The kid could have at least had him closer than what they did.
No, he would have definitely had him closer. No question about it. But with the way CP3 was balling, I don't think anybody would have beaten CP3 last night and the Houston Rockets. I just don't believe it. I really, really don't. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the phones we go at 888-729-3776, 888-SAY-ESPN. Ed in Hawaii. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ed? How are you?
Stephen A., what's up, my man?
Go ahead, buddy. Talk.
Hey, I want to talk about what you were saying about the Shaq and Barkley debate. Barkley made a good point. You have to be firm with players, and I think, that attests to how coaches don't need to just be basketball coaches. They need to know their players. So what goes for one player might not go for other. You might be able to be more strict with one player. You might need him somewhat, baby, another player. It just kind of goes on to that team, that player, and that coach. Do you agree?
Well, I think in some instances you're right. It depends, but some players don't deserve to be babied. I think you go on a case-by-case basis. I never think you should be of the mindset that it's all about, just having a generic approach to things, pacifying and babying. Some players need tough love. Some don't. And you got to know which one needs which. That's my belief.
Man, I agree with you. I can't wait for you to come out here and hang out with me on the beach.
I will never hang out on the beach with you. It will never be with any man. I don't even like that statement. That's just my flavor. Peace and love. Take it easy. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., that's funny, man. I want to touch on, real quick, I want to move back. I tried to call you yesterday, I didn't get a chance to get in, but about what happened with the Raptors. I think Dwayne Casey, Stephen A., I think he takes a lot of the blame because, in my opinion, I didn't see him make any type of in-game adjustments to give his team a chance to win. Obviously, in my opinion, I picked the Cavs to win, but they were the inferior team. The Raptors were. So I think Dwayne Casey didn't make any adjustment. The only adjustment he made was not starting Jonas, and they end up losing by 30. So I think Dwayne Casey has to take most of the blame in that, Stephen A. You could say all day that he didn't have the horse or the personnel, but he didn't try to do anything to help his team or make any adjustments. That's just my opinion.
Well, first of all, your opinion is wrong there, Chris. I got to say, when you bench DeMar DeRozan, your star player, for the last 14 minutes of a game, you've tried something. That's number one. Number two, when you look at Dwayne Casey, you got to look at it from this perspective. You keep running into the same person. The best player in the world takes your heart right out of your chest each and every single year. Masai has added, different players, Pirtle and Siakam and guys like that, and Van Vliet to a lesser degree, to the squad. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that no matter where you turn, LeBron has an answer. He has their number, and he affects them in a way he doesn't affect other teams. Indiana lost to Cleveland, but they fought. If Boston wins tonight and they end up facing Cleveland, I promise you they're going to fight. The problem with Toronto is that two of those games, they had no fight in them. They had no fight. And what do you do with that? I don't know what you do with that.
Well, Stephen, that's my point. I think, but I don't want to talk about that because they're.
Well, you're the one that brought it up. You're the one that brought it up. All right, go ahead.
You're right. Okay, as far as Houston and Golden State, Stephen A., I know. Let me make sure I'm clear with what you had. You have the Warriors winning in 7.
You know what? I changed my mind. It might be 6.
Oh, Stephen A., and I was listening. It's funny because I was listening to Charles and all those guys. I'll be surprised if it goes to 6, Stephen A. I just don't see that one-on-one as spectacular as Chris Paul was last night, Stephen A. That won't get it done against the Warriors. I'm
not going to disrespect Houston like that. I think that James Harden is a superstar. I think that Chris Paul is a star. I think that they can find a way to get 2 games from Golden State. I truly believe that.
But they only have 2 guys, Stephen A., that can put the ball on the ground and make plays. And I think, like I mentioned before, and I've been telling you for months, Steve Kerr's not going to allow that pick and roll with James.
Let me say this to you. Do you believe Houston has home court advantage? Do you believe that Houston will win one of the first 2 games?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Hold on. I got a second game. So if they win one of the first 2 games, right? And then they lose the 2 games, 3 and 4 in Golden State, right? Doesn't game 5 come back to Houston?
But they'll be down 3-1, Stephen.
Right, and so which is why if you're on the road, no. But if you're coming at home down 3-1, I can see them pushing it to 3-2 and then losing the game 6 at the Oracle. I can see that. I can see them winning 2 games. I can see Houston winning 2 games in this series.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree, Stephen. I just think that it won't be what they're doing is not going to be enough. And if you listen to your good friend Kenny Smith dissect and analyze this thing, he's 100% right. Like that pick and roll when he's coming with Chris Paul and James are coming up, there's no Gobert there. They're going to have to deal with the Draymond, the Iguodalas. Those guys can switch multiple picks.
I agree with that too. But why can't Houston change up a little bit? I think that you can count on a couple of games for other guys to step up and come through when you have home court advantage. That's my point. I'm not talking about winning a series, but can you win game 1 or 2 and game 5, but lose game 1 or 2 plus game 3 and 4? Yes, you can. Okay. I see Houston winning one of the first 2 at home, and I see them winning game 5. I see them losing one of the first 2 at home and losing games 3 and 4 at the Oracle. That's what I see.
Okay, real quick, I'm going to leave it to this thing next. I know you're going to get to the call. I think that if it gets down to 3-1 and you think that Houston will win game 5, I believe that's all determined on if Chris Paul and James Harden lose faith in their teammates. Because I think that if it gets to that person, they know their back's against the wall, they're going to try to do it themselves, and that'll eliminate them.
I got you. I got to get on out of here. I disagree with that. I think that ultimately somebody will step up. You'll get 2 games. I'm not going to disrespect Houston like that, but I do not see them winning this series. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Morning NBA playoffs. Couple of NFL items to get into, particularly weed and more. Hour number 2 with Stephen A. up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
I was never the fastest. Never the biggest. Never the strongest. But I never let that stop me. I never lost sight of my goal.
Passion moves us forward. It's how you think. It's how we think. Courtyard by Marriott. Official hotel of the NFL.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Looking forward to having my man on, Michael K., voice of the New York Yankees. He'll be on with us in just a few minutes to holler at us about what's been taking place in the sport of Major League Baseball, particularly in the American League East, with the Yankees 7.5 games back, now tied with the Boston Red Sox for supremacy in the American League East right now, atop the American League East. By the way, in case I haven't told you already, Mother's Day is coming. Instead of getting her the same unexpected gifts or the same expected gifts, find millions of gifts as unique as her on Amazon. You get free shipping on eligible orders over $25. So shop now at Amazon.com/Mother's Day. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Couple of things that I wanted to make sure I touched on. I talked to you about the Yankees because they won 3-2 yesterday against the Boston Red Sox. Giancarlo Stanton smacked 2 solo home runs. So I was very, very happy about that. He seems out of his slump. We like that. We appreciate that. Came into the game with just a 586 on base percentage. He blasted a pair of homers. He's hitting .600 against the Red Sox this season, 9 of 15. So I'm very, very happy about that. Luis Severino allowed 5 runs on 8 hits in his worst outing of the year against Boston on April 10th, but he struck out a season high 11 in 6 innings last night. Still had to settle for the no decision though. He was charged with 2 runs and 6 hits, walked nobody. But he's 24 years of age. He's an ace. Okay. And he's balling right now. So we're going to go with that. So we're very happy with what we're seeing. We're going to stick with that. We're going to appreciate that. And we're going to be true to that and move forward. That's what we're going to do. So let's get that out the way. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, want to make sure that I took the liberty of touching on. This guy by the name of Mike James. Played in the NFL, plays in the NFL for a few years, was injured the entire year last season. Because he was injured last season, he reached out to the NFL trying to apply for, use marijuana. That's what he wanted to do. And the NFL said no. He wanted to legally use marijuana for medicinal purposes. That's what he wanted to do. And the NFL denied his request. He wanted to use marijuana as a painkiller because obviously football is an incredibly violent sport. He was out last year with a concussion. And because of how much he suffered, he just said, hey, it's something that we need to consider. It's something that we need to do. We need to stop playing games with this stuff. That's what he says. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back, currently a free agent, failed to persuade the NFL to let him use marijuana as a painkiller. 3-year veteran, he became addicted to painkillers trying to deal with the pain that comes with being a running back in the NFL. After trying to find a different way to cope with the pain, his doctor told him the safer option was to try marijuana. Quote, consuming a vast amount of opioids is far more dangerous than cannabis, says Dr. Sue Sisley, MD, the principal investigator at the Scottsdale Research Institute and James physician. One is lethal in overdose. One is not. One has an epidemic in overdose deaths. One has no deaths associated with it. That's our argument for it. James himself said, quote, I am hopeful that I'll be able to keep playing football. It is a game that I love very dearly. I know right now I'm doing something that makes some people uncomfortable and that I'm going against the establishment to push for a change in the way they look at this medicine. I know there's a greater purpose here for a lot of guys in this league who I consider family members. Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you don't know my position, you've been living under a rock, and you have no idea what my position is. Religiously, I am the guy known for telling professional athletes to stay off the weed. I am known for that. However, unbeknownst to a lot of you, I do not feel that way about marijuana use for medicinal purposes, only recreationally. For medicinal purposes, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it whatsoever. And it's something I think the NFL should strongly consider. They should strongly consider it. Absolutely true. Particularly if it's being prescribed by a doctor and the doctor can justify its healing abilities as it pertains to making sure that you can recover from the violence that ails you associated with the NFL. But for recreational use, I don't want to hear it. And for all of you out there who don't know, you want to know how connected I am. I've spoken to experts on this subject, particularly the great one himself, the one and only Snoop Dogg. He texted me this morning about this same thing. Obviously, he's an advocate for it. We all know this. He gives new meaning to green rooms. We know that. But even he's come on TV and said emphatically, don't let it cost you your money now. And that's the whole point. That's my position against marijuana use. Under no circumstances should it cost you money. If it's going to cost you money, it's stupid for you to do it. And you ain't getting no support from that from me. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. But I'll get to that later. Right now, I got to talk to my man, Michael Kay, the voice of ESPN in New York. Obviously, the voice of the New York Yankees. He covers the Yankees as well for the Yes Network. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
You are living the dream. You're texting with Snoop Dogg. That never happens to me.
The double D-O-G.
Oh,
Snoop
so
Dogg.
jealous.
Hey, listen, man, let me ask you this question. My Yankees, I did not suspect that they would be back in first place, tied for first place with the Red Sox after being just 7.5 games back a few weeks ago. Michael Kay, what has been going on with these New York Yankees? Explain the role they've been on.
Well, they've been clicking on all cylinders, and I think the most important thing is that they're pitching. I mean, they're pitching to about a 2 ERA. You're going to win a lot of games like that. And I'm going to tell you something that might shock you. They've won 16 of 17 games, and in my opinion, they can be better than they are. Because we have not seen Stanton really get off on a run. Gardner's hitting under 200. Sanchez is hitting under 200. So those guys have room for improvement. They still do. So when this whole lineup starts to click, I don't think you could pitch to it, Steven. So I don't think they could go off on another 16-1 run because this hasn't happened since 1953 for this organization. But every other time, except for in 1907, that this organization ever went 16-1 during a season, they went to the World Series.
But what's changed with them during this 16 of 17 win stretch? What's going on with them now that wasn't happening early on in the season that you've noticed?
They're pitching better. I think the bullpen is absorbing their roles better and accepting their roles. And I think it comes down to this, and people don't want to hear this, Stephen A., but when you talk to players, it's real. It was cold the first 3 weeks. I mean, they were playing in lousy weather, and it's hard for people to play baseball the right way. Now, everybody operates under the same conditions, but you could see it was affecting the Yankee hitters and all that. So they were 9-9, and the Red Sox were 17-2. So now the Yankees over the last 19 games are 17-2, and the Red Sox are 9-9. So that whole deficit that they incurred, it's gone, and now the Red Sox and the Yankees have the two best records in baseball. So the only thing I could come up with, they were feeling their way, and maybe the cold had something to do with it.
We know what kind of slump Giancarlo Stanton was in earlier this season. How do you feel about the way he's looking now, and do you think that he's about to break out in a big way?
Every time I say I think that, Stephen, he regresses just a bit. But you could see this guy's a star. He didn't win the National League MVP by accident. I think there's a couple of things that come into play. I think he's going to have a great year. He'll hit over 45 home runs. I mean, it's not fair to say he's going to hit 59 again. But this guy was, affected by the cold. He played Miami his whole life. And then if the weather was bad, it was indoors. And number two, and a really high-profile ex-player told me this guy never been a full-time DH. And, in effect, he was learning how to pinch hit 4 times a game. And he said, when you're a DH, all you do is worry about your next at-bat, and you fixate on it, and sometimes you make bad habits worse. In the past, he'd go out to right field and he'd worry about defense and get his mind off of hitting. So maybe he's starting to acclimate himself to that position and being a little more comfortable. And there's one other thing. With the Marlins, he was always a star. He was always on center stage. The Yankees, this guy has struggled, Steven, and other than the booze in the Bronx, he's been able to just blend into the furniture because they've been winning. So when a team goes 16-1, if you're not hitting, nobody's going to fixate on it. So he's been allowed to work out his problems. I think that's important.
We're talking to the great Michael Kay, the voice in New York. Got an afternoon drive show, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM in New York City. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Listen, there was some bad blood between the Yankees and the Red Sox last time they met. So many people wonder about whether or not that could resurface or not. I don't particularly care. Here's what I care about, Michael Kay. Do you think baseball at this particular juncture needs this rivalry in order to ascend, needs this to be a heated rivalry? I don't think the Yankees need that. I think all baseball needs is the New York Yankees to be relevant in the championship equation. That's all I think they need. But do you think they need the Yankees and Red Sox to be that kind of rivalry?
I don't know if they need it, but I certainly don't think it hurts. Right. It helps to have that kind of attention on 19 games where they become death marches each single game. And I think there's more to the rivalry now than there has been in years. I'm going to tell you why. For so many years, they played against each other, they battled each other, and if you didn't win the American League East and you got the wild card, so what? The wild card was the same deal as winning the East. But now that the wild card gets you a one-game wild card game, I'm telling you, there's a lot of pressure on both of these teams to win the East. You don't want to risk your whole playoff run on one game. Just look at it this way. Yankees went to the 7th game of the ALCS last year, but they were down 3-0 in the wild card game to the Twins before they came to bat. That's how quickly it could go away. So these games mean something now. It's like in 1978. Either you won the division or you didn't go to the playoffs. So a lot of teams look at the wild card as not even going to the playoffs until you win the wild card. And I still think you made the playoffs, but there's an inordinate amount of pressure on you. So I think there's extra sizzle for these games now.
Interesting question my producer and your buddy Jonathan Winthrop had for me yesterday. I'll throw it your way because you know more baseball than me, obviously. Do you think baseball will have regrets if the Yankees and the Red Sox are the two best teams in Major League Baseball and one needs to play in a one-game playoff, game just to make the wild card round?
I think they'll have regrets if the Red Sox or the Yankees are in that one-game playoff and then they lose the game. I don't think it would be regrets to the point that they would change the system. I just think it's important to have divisions because when you have divisions, then there are 3 cities that can claim that they won a division title, and then you could spread the wild card, the 2 wild cards any way you want. So I can never see where they would have a 16-team league like in the old days when they had 8-team leagues. So tell John to calm down, okay?
Michael Kay right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Mike, when I look at the American League, to me, the number one team to be worried about if you're a Yankee fan is the Houston Astros. Yep. It's not the Boston Red Sox. I still think that the reigning, defending World Series champions look like champions despite what the Yankees did to them in their 4-game stretch last week, winning about 3 of those games. What are your thoughts about the Houston Astros, and are they the team to be most worried about in the American League?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at their starting pitching. I mean, even the Yankees won those games. Verlander shut them down. Morton shut them down. Those games were close. That was impressive for the Yankees to go into Houston and win 3 out of 4. But the thing that brings Houston a little bit down to earth, their bullpen is really unreliable. I mean, Ken Giles, they didn't even allow him to close that 4th game against the Yankees and ended up losing the game because of that. And then he punched himself in the face after giving up the home run to Gary Sanchez. But if I have to list the best teams in the American League, Stephen A., it would be Houston would be first. The Yankees would be second. The Red Sox would be a smidge behind the Yankees. And then the Indians, who are a little disappointing, but they'll get better once Andrew Miller gets back into the bullpen. But those are by far and away the 4 best teams in the American League. And I think the Astros, Yankees, and Red Sox might be the best teams in baseball.
You got so many people salivating, before I let you get on out of here, Michael Kay. You got so many people salivating about the Yankees potentially adding somebody else, Bryce Harper that could be approaching free agency. Not that Mike Trout is, but you fantasize about guys like that in a Yankee uniform. I'm thinking what the Yankees is presently constructed, they literally don't need anybody. What are your thoughts about that? I don't think they need anybody.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, people have this lust for an all-star at every single position, but the Yankee farm system is producing great players. Let's say you sign Manny Machado. Well, that means that Didi Gregorius or Miguel Andujar and Brandon Drury out of a job. Do you want to do that? And also, you're going to pay him $40 million a year. Harper, if you ask me which one of the two there's a possibility they could go after, I guess it could be Harper because Brett Gardner is in the last year of his contract. But let's remember one thing, and people always forget this, Stephen A. Hal Steinbrenner was on my show, and he said it several times. He does not think that an organization has to have an over $200 million payroll to win a World Series. And the Yankees are about at 165 right now. If you start spending money again like it's going out of style, you're going to have a payroll like the Red Sox at 235, and you're going to pay these awful taxes. I don't think Steinbrenner wants to go there. I think he thinks there's a way to build a team without going nuts with money. So if they win the World Series, I don't think there's any way they would go for those guys. But here's the caveat, Stephen. If they get knocked out of the playoffs or for some reason don't make the playoffs, then I could see them making a desperate run because they want to show their fans they were still going for it.
I got to admit, Michael K., Brian Cashman, the general manager, is looking pretty damn good right now. You decide to go away from Joe Girardi. You convince management to follow your lead. Joe Girardi is gone. Aaron Boone is in here. You guys are balling right now and don't look like you need to change a thing. To me, the star of all of this right now actually looks like Brian Cashman, the general manager. Am I off my rocker by saying that?
No, you are not, and that's why Cashman makes Stephen A. Smith money. I mean, they know exactly what this guy's about.
Oh, please, Michael K. Somehow, some way, I bet you're making more money than me.
No,
I bet
stop.
You stop it. Afternoon drive host, star ESPN New York. You need to stop that with the extra check from yesterday. Don't you start with me, buddy. Don't you start with me. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. The one and only Michael K. You can hear him right on ESPN New York 98.7 FM every weekday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, I can't mention Michael K. without my man Don Juan LaGreca. We must do that. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, show Get Up this morning on ESPN. Coach David Fizdale of the New York Knicks was there. He showed up, made an appearance over there, South Street Seaport. Somehow got through that traffic, got up there, all right? David Fizdale had a lot of things to say. I hope he's going to be ready. He's going to fly to Latvia, going to go see Kristaps Porzingis, going to go do all of that. Getting to know his players, ingratiate himself with some players. And you know, it's amazing. I mean, David Fizdale's clearly polished because he's talking about going to see every player and, you know, getting to know them and their families and all of that stuff. Yeah, I just stop it. You know why I say stop it? Because, damn it, you only need to know about two of the players. I mean, who else do you need to know? They ain't going to be there anyway. I'm trying to tell you right now, other than Porzingis and maybe Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, you can lie and tell Frank Ntilikina that you want to get to know him, but really you just want a free trip to France. You ain't fooling anybody, David Fizdale. Please. And because France, I mean, it's a land for lovers. You understand? And David Fizdale is happier than most because his wife is gorgeous. But let me tell you something right now. Ain't no reason to go to France for Ntilikina. You can lie. And say that, get a free trip to France. Ain't no other reason to go to France. I mean, please. Tim Hardaway Jr., okay, paying $71 million. He could play a little bit too sporadic, but he could play. I like Tim Hardaway Jr. And Porzingis. Who else is worth going to see? They might not be there past training camp. I tell you, boy, he's good. He's already polished. I tell you that much. Joe in West Palm, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead. Joe. Joe, speak. First of all, time out. First of all, get off a damn mic, or I don't know what that sounds like or whatever. You got millions of people listening to you, man. Get ready. Let's go. What's your point?
I had to disconnect my Bluetooth. I'm sorry. What is he bring to the table that Mark Jackson doesn't? I'm a big fan like you are, and I'm just need some answers.
Well, Fizdale can coach. He's more recent. You have a lot of people that have been a fan of him for years. You remember, Mark Jackson was never a coach on any level before getting the head coaching job in Golden State, whereas Fizdale had served as an assistant in both Atlanta and Miami for years before landing in Memphis. So there's assistant coaching experience. There's a pedigree because he's got 2 rings for being a lead assistant under Eric Spoelstra with the Pat Riley regime in Miami. So you can look at it from that perspective. I think that ultimately what hurt Mark Jackson, and it ain't, listen, you could talk about the history with Golden State, but Joe Lacob, the owner for the Golden State Warriors, reached out to me personally and said he would have hired Mark Jackson if he was running the Knicks. And he's the one that let go of Mark Jackson in Golden State. So we have to remember to mention that and recognize the fact that, indeed, it might be something pertaining to history, but it also might be the fact that Mark Jackson don't play games. And if you're James Dolan and you're getting in the way and you're doing some stuff, Mark Jackson might let you know about it. And they might not have wanted to deal with that. Not that David Fizdale won't, because that's exactly what he did in Memphis. It's just that you never, ever know. And that's what we got to take into consideration, man. Okay.
Gotcha. Do you think he's the next best coach aside from Mark Jackson being hired?
Yes, absolutely. I have no problem with Fizdale as the coach of the New York Knicks, other than the fact that I thought Mark Jackson should have been their first choice. But I like David Fizdale a lot, and I'm certainly rooting for him. I can tell you that much. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones we go at 888-SAY-ESPN at 888-729-3776. By the way, I got Boston winning tonight against Philadelphia in Game 5. But if they lose this game, it's going 7 because Philadelphia will win Game 6 Friday night. That is my firm belief. Philadelphia, they're on the brink of elimination. It's going to be real interesting to see how they perform tonight, how they respond to the challenge. Boston is one of the great home crowds in the league. They show up. They make life incredibly uncomfortable. It is not easy at all dealing with the Boston Celtics at TD Bank Garden. It's going to be real interesting to see what transpires. It really, really is. Either way, LeBron is waiting. And it's going to be interesting to see what I get from Boston, because right now, if I had to pick, I'd pick Cleveland, because I'm looking at LeBron, too big, too strong. Jason Tatum, long, but not strong enough. Jaylen Brown, small and not long enough. Who else going to guard him? You ain't going to put Marcus Smart on him. That ain't going to work. So that's just where I'm coming at with it. But it remains to be seen. Let's go to Michael in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Stephen A., thank you. Hopefully you're wrong tonight about Philly, but I wanted to ask you about...
I hope I am too.
I heard you last week. I think I heard you say LeBron. You have LeBron all-time as number 3 player behind Jordan and Kareem, respectively.
Probably, even though I'm debating him and Kareem just because of the positions that they play and all of that stuff. Kareem is just a 19-time All-Star, the greatest scorer, the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, a 6-time champion. You know, I mean, the one with the most unstoppable move in the history of the sport. It's just hard to ignore the basketball credentials of the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but that's just me. But go ahead.
So, Steve, help me understand how you get LeBron that high when he has 3 titles total, and people like Magic have 5, and Shaq has 4.
Well,
Duncan's got 5, and Kobe's got 5.
Well, let me respond. LeBron has the 2 titles that he has, and then one where he had Kyrie. That's true. When you look at Magic, you know how I feel about Magic Johnson, 5-time champion, the ultimate leader, deserves a lot of respect. But the eye test tells you he's a better talent than Magic Johnson was. And then you look at Magic Johnson, who had Kareem and Worthy and Norm Nixon and then Byron Scott after that, and Michael Cooper, Jamal Wilkes, and all of this other stuff. So you look at that. That's my answer to that question. When I look at what is it, Magic? You said Magic Johnson. And then you said Tim Duncan, the David Robinson is a teammate one time, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker and the system that is Greg Popovich in San Antonio another time. A better team overall. So I look at it from that perspective. But the eye test is primarily what I'm focusing on, because I could always find folks with some better numbers. As far as I'm concerned, the number one thing I hold against LeBron James is that he's lost 5 NBA titles. That's the number one thing I hold against him. But the flip side to all of that is that I have to look at his talent at 6'9", 260, to handle the ball, to be able to play all 5 positions, to having played all 5 positions at one time or another, to have a jump shot that he's added to his repertoire along with his ball handling skills, his obvious passing skills. In Miami, he was an elite defender. So I look at all of those different things, and as a talent, I don't know if we can look at him as a talent and come up with 3 players in NBA history that were better than him talent-wise. I don't think we could do it.
So, Stephen A., no debating that. But at the end of the day, there's 5 players on the floor. And with all of that talent, it still only resulted in 3 titles overall. He played with Wade, played with Bosh, 4 straight finals, won 2 of them, lost to an inferior Mavericks team, lost to an aging San Antonio team.
Stop right there with the aging San Antonio team. That's not fair. Dwayne Wade was not healthy, and neither was Chris Bosh. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, but I mean, at the end of the day, you ultimately have to measure it with how they produce in the finals.
No, I don't.
All that talent.
No, I don't, because when you're measuring somebody, whether or not they were the greatest player in the world, you're talking about that individual player and his individual talent. You're not talking about his teams, because the fact of the matter is, Magic Johnson lost 4 titles. Did you know that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar lost 4 titles? Do you know that the silhouette is Jerry West, who lost 8 times in 9 NBA finals? How about Elgin Baylor, who's universally recognized as one of the greatest players ever? He lost all 7 NBA Finals appearances he appeared in.
All-time great, not ahead of LeBron, certainly. But
what I'm saying to you, my point to you is that I don't have time to debate on back and forth because I got other callers to get to. But what I'm trying to say to you is that LeBron does have 3 rings. He's lost 5. That's why I'll never give him the edge over Jordan. But when you talk about everybody else, they've lost finals. So why can't I look at an individual talent and say, from a talent perspective, he's top 3 all time when you're 6'9", 260, and you could do the things that he does? I don't think there's any debate about that. I really, really don't. I appreciate the call, though. Thank you. Richard in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hi, Stephen A. How you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm good.
I've got two quick things for you. You've got other callers. Agree or disagree? I don't believe Houston can beat the Warriors 4 times.
I believe they can. I believe they can, but I don't believe they will.
Another thing, not putting the wagon before the horse. If Cleveland beats Boston in the finals, if Ty Lue includes Nance Jr. and Jordan Clarkson in the rotation, what do you feel that both of them will need to do, Stephen, to help Cleveland
Clarkson and who else?
Nance Jr.
Well,
Nance back in the rotation.
Both of them have to defend. Larry Nance Jr. has to be a poor man's version of Tristan Thompson around the basket, and Jordan Clarkson has to hit jump shots and has to be able to create his own shot doing it.
Thank you, Stephen.
Take it easy. Let's go to George in Sacramento. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, George?
Hey, how's it going, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Hey, appreciate you taking my call. Hey, I just want to bring up, in the 15 years that LeBron has been in the NBA, there's only been 2 MVPs in the Eastern Conference, him and Derrick Rose. Now, he's got 5, but at the same time, he doesn't have a lot of competition in that conference. So when he comes to the Western Conference, he's going against some animals, So, I mean, we have to put all that in perspective, too. We say he's going to 7 consecutive finals, but at the same time, for him, that road is easier. He did choose that road.
Well, clearly you've been watching First Take, because that's what I said after Cleveland beat Toronto the other day. That's number 1. Number 2, however, is LeBron is a champion, which means at some point in time he's going against the West. And no matter what conference he's in, nobody denies his individual talents. And number 3, here's the question you have to ask yourself. Even though we can be critical of LeBron and we have a right and a license to do that, we must be fair-minded enough to ask ourselves this question. Would Oklahoma City be better if LeBron was there instead of Russell Westbrook? Yes. Would Houston be better if LeBron James was there than James Harden? Yes. Would the Clippers have been better if LeBron was there instead of CP3? The answer is yes. So when you look at most of the teams out west, okay, there is no denying that LeBron James' greatness transcends conferences, transcends competition, transcends all of this stuff. LeBron is a career 27-point per game scorer on better than 50% shooting. That means no matter who he goes up against night in and night out, this is what he delivers as an individual talent. That cannot be ignored.
Now, can I ask you this? Okay, so I do agree with all that, what you just said. Now, with him playing on the Eastern Conference, me personally, I see it being an easier way for him to get to where he's going. That's fine. But at the same time, he's on. Well, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But he's only won 37% of the time in the finals. Now, with that, though, now you have all these other guys. They're battling each other night in, night out. So are they getting a better advantage being able to see these guys more often?
No.
Do you think that he's better off in the East or going to the West?
No, they're just a better team. They're just a better team. The Golden State Warriors were better than Cleveland, especially after Kevin Durant arrived here. LeBron James has lost finals. This is who he's lost finals to. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry 1 year. Clay and Steph another year. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker twice. And Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, but at the same time, he had 4 guys there, too. Now, had Ray Allen not made that shot, we could be talking about LeBron being 2 and 6.
That is
and
true.
Had Draymond Green not did what he did.
So get it out, George, because you got 30 seconds. What exactly are you trying to say about the talent that is LeBron James? Because we all know he's lost 5 NBA finals. I have said ad nauseum that he's took the road less traveled because the Eastern Conference hasn't been that strong. I still feel, though, you still the best in the world. What are you trying to say?
I agree with that, but let me ask you
No, you don't get to ask me nothing else. You don't get to that. Bye. All of that stuff, but you're going to agree he's the best in the world? Then why make those other points? Why? We already highlighted that he's lost 5 NBA finals. That's why he would never be Michael Jordan to me. But all that talking you just did, and you're going to concede he's the best in the world? Why are you bringing up individual conferences then for? Good Lord, some of you people. Y'all just want to talk. Reminds me of somebody else I know. They just want to talk. The hell with making a point. They just want to talk. But I won't go there.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Back to the phones we go. Stephen in South Carolina, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen. Just 2 quick points. You kind of touched on it a minute ago, but I was going to say the same thing you were starting to touch on, which is I think Philly was a little green behind the ears, and I think they had a real chance of winning game 2 and 3. And I think winning game 4 kind of maybe gave them that little extra, nudge that they needed to realize that they can compete in this series. And I'm with you. I don't necessarily think they're absolutely going to win tonight, but if they do, I have a very strong feeling they may end up winning that series. And on that point,
I'm still not of the mindset that the Sixers are going to win the series because nobody has come back from a 3-0 deficit in NBA history. But I will tell you that I do believe firmly there would be a Game 7 back in Boston this Sunday if Philadelphia wins tonight.
I think so, too. The talent, I think, like I said, it's very young talent, but obviously they're still very talented. And on that point, I just had a question to see why the opinion is what it is. But I saw earlier on Twitter that Brad Stevens is generally universally known as one of the best coaches in the NBA, if not second behind Popovich.
Nope. Brad Stevens right now is the best coach in basketball.
But I see a lot of people saying that, but I was going to say he didn't get a single vote for a Coach of the Year, I saw. So I was just going to see what you thought about that. But other than that was it. So
Brad Stevens is the best coach in basketball right now. One would argue even better than Popovich with the job he did this year in Boston. I really feel that way. Jimmy in New Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen. How you doing? Just 2 quick questions. One, do you think Phil Jackson knew his time was going to be up in New York and he sabotaged the New York Knicks by picking Ntilikina?
I've always felt that way. I felt that Phil Jackson was completely asleep at the wheel. Maybe sabotage is too strong of a word because it's entirely possible that he didn't do it on purpose. He just did it because he wasn't working. He was asleep on the job and just made a bad choice. But either way you slice it, he was negligent. It was a dereliction of duty. He should have been gone sooner rather than later, and he stole money from James Dolan. I think James Dolan should file charges against him for theft. That's my personal opinion, but go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And just a quick question for you. When you found out you were going to have a new coworker on the First Take, when you found out it was Max Kellerman, how did you feel about that, knowing he was kind of new in the whole sports world reporting?
Well, first of all, I didn't find out anything. I picked him. All right, myself along with a few executives here. They asked my input, and collaboratively we made the choice. We picked Max Kellerman, and Max Kellerman is not new to sports. Max Kellerman has been around sports for quite a long time. He's hosted shows in New York radio, Afternoon Drive in L.A. He's been synonymous with the sport of boxing for a quarter century. So he's not new.
I just thought he was like a pure boxing guy, and you were getting,
No, he knows.
He
He didn't have to be a reporter, but in terms of commentating and pundency and things of that nature, Max Kellerman has been around for quite a long time. He is not a novice at this. Have a nice day. Let's go to Jason in Connecticut. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on?
Jason, I'm sorry, I got to rush you. You got 30 seconds because we got to get on out of here. Go ahead.
All right, what's up? All right, hey, Stephen A., got one question. Would you consider Jason Kidd better than Allen Iverson?
No. Have a nice day. Jason Kidd better than Allen Iverson. Jason Kidd is one of the great point guards in NBA history. So, yes, a better point guard. But in terms of Allen Iverson and the miniature dynamo and what he did on the court and how he carried the franchise to the finals the way that he did, no, I don't consider Jason Kidd better than Allen Iverson. I consider them two different players, but I don't think that Jason Kidd could have done what Allen Iverson did. I think that Allen Iverson, if he wanted to, could have done what Jason Kidd did. But I still think Jason Kidd is great. Got to get on out of here. Got to head to Boston for Game 5 tonight, Sixers and Celtics. I will holler at y'all tomorrow. Let y'all know what I think about that outcome. I've got the Celtics winning tonight, but I hope I'm wrong. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.